Content warning. The story, characters, and events in this book are entirely fictional. Any similarities to actual people, places, and events are purely coincidental. This story contains heavy violence, strong language, and sexual themes that may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Chapter 2. Bang, Bang, Bank. Exposed brick lined the peeling walls of the dingy apartment, casting long shadows in the flickering overhead light. 3 men and a girl huddled around a ratty table, floor layouts spread before them, marred by hasty pencil markings. "I'm telling you, this is the perfect time to strike," rasped one of the men, his voice laced with urgency. "There's already an anti-police demonstration. It'll be a turkey shoot. Shit, they will be too confused to even know that something is going on." A younger man shifted uneasily, his brows knitting together. "I don't like it. I don't want a Mr. Johnson knocking on my door years from now with a score to settle." "You can slip away like snakes on ice," the first man replied, his cybernetic eyes reflecting a metallic glint. "Get out of the country, disappear, have a better life. We won't even need to dust anyone." The holographic overlays in his eyes flashed. "So, you in?" Hesitant nods followed, and they shook hands, sealing their alliance. "Good. Very good." "I need a great story now," Apricot moaned, her head lolling back against the chilly black wooden bench. "I'll be in deep trouble if I don't turn in a paper tomorrow." She sat upright and lifted a soggy double cheeseburger, its contents tumbling precariously. "The Bureau of Education sent me a certified letter. If my grades don't improve, they'll move me to the labor field. I can't work in a factory for the rest of my life." Bonnie, sitting cross-legged next to her, swung her heel rhythmically. The scent of espresso from her cafe uniform mingled with the salty tang of fried food. She drew a nugget from a cardboard pouch, dipping it into teriyaki and mayonnaise. "Why not write about today's incident?" suggested a sharp-faced, black-haired man opposite Apricot, as he bit into his half-eaten burger. "I've got a couple of crime scene photos that would be perfect for your article." A younger girl beside him, plucking at a salad, chimed in. "She needs a good article, Sato." Apricot had met Sato Takoma in school. He was a few years her senior, but they shared several classes. His little sister, Machi, a first-year engineering student, had also become her friend. Apricot had always thought Machi was a spoiled brat, and after meeting her that opinion remained much the same. Apricot glanced at Bonnie, her grin wide enough to slip off her face. "So, about that secret I wanted to tell you? The police looked worried after the robbery this morning." Apricot watched as Machi rolled her ice-green eyes behind heavy black-framed glasses. "I think there's a clear answer for that one." Machi took a bite of her salad, chewing deliberately as the others waited. After swallowing, she said, "Most likely the fact that she murdered several people." Bonnie picked up another nugget and gestured toward Machi in a stabbing motion. "Don't you think it's odd that so many people died? Eerie Truth's monthly reports there have been monster sightings all over. One person couldn't have caused that much death. Perhaps she wasn't human at all. I bet—" "Monsters!" Machi burst out, cutting her off. "Ha! She was a crazy person hopped up on pills." She laughed dryly. "I find it odd too, Bonnie, but I can't write an article on it," Apricot interjected. "But why are they appearing all over now? I remember when everyone said witches were just fairy tales." "We live in an overly superstitious society. People still pay respect to Obojo, the money god, whenever they expect a raise," Machi snapped. "Something is going on. Don't you agree, Sato?" Bonnie leaned closer, stroking Sato's lap. His face flushed red as he gazed into Bonnie's doe eyes. "He's a photographer, not a reporter," Machi butted in, a quick kick to Bonnie's leg forcing her back. "Witches aren't real either. They're just ill people playing hocus-pocus." "I guess this sounds like tabloid stuff, but who knows what creeps in the shadows, right? For all we know, monsters could be under the city. Sato rubbed the back of his head with a silly grin. Apricot giggled at Machi's glare before jabbing Sato lightly in the ribs. "Ack!" he yelped. "But Machi's right. I'm a photojournalist. If I see something and snap it, you bet it would make front-page news," he added, rubbing where Machi playfully hit him. "Tabloid? No, this is groundbreaking news," Bonnie insisted. "This is the kind of journalism that makes people famous. Imagine, Apricot, they'd always know you as the woman who brought the monster invasion of Blue Ash to light." "Well," Apricot said, placing a finger on her lower lip. She looked up, pondering how to avoid offending Bonnie. "I need more information and 2 sources. Thanks for the tip, though, Bonnie. I'll keep my ears open, and if I get more information, I might write about it." "Ugh, Apricot," Machi growled. "Don't encourage her absurdity." "Apricot, come on," Bonnie whined. "My idea is perfect." Blaring sirens made Bonnie's eyes and mouth widen. Several police cars rushed by, making wrappers on the table flutter. Sato quickly grabbed his phone. A smirk grew on Apricot's face, met with a twinge of guilt for her excitement. "Hey, Sato, what does your police scanner say? Anything I might want to write about?" She leapt from her chair, clutching his shoulder to see the screen. Sato swiped through a black and blue app. Several alerts popped up, minor ones, a few protests, and an emergency report. He tapped the emergency alert. Apricot squinted but couldn't read the text. "Yeah," he said after a moment. "There's a bank robbery a few blocks from here." "A bank robbery would be perfect!" Apricot exclaimed, pumping her fist. "Sato!" she shouted. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" He smirked, standing up. "Hey, Machi, here are 50 marks," Sato said, handing her some shiny emerald cards. "I'm sorry, but you'll have to get yourself a ride home." Machi blew a puff of air. Yeah, you always ditch me. I'm used to it." Looking back to Bonnie, who grinned predatorily, she added, "Wait, don't leave me with Bonnie. She's nuts." Bonnie let out a small laugh. "I'm the one babysitting." Apricot waved to the girls while running to Sato's bike. "Hey, sorry to take off like this. I'll call you later to tell you how it went." Bonnie returned the wave as Machi sat cross-armed and slumped into her seat. The clamor of sirens battled against the roar of the trail rider. Apricot clung to Sato's back as he expertly handled the crimson and white sports bike. Cars zoomed by as he weaved through the lanes. The gaps between the white lines blurred into a flicker. "Sato," Apricot yelped. "Don't you think this might be a little fast?" The swishing of automobiles had gone from measured pauses to rapid responses. "These things can go down quick," Sato said. "Don't want to miss a thing." Apricot's heart raced as a wall of cars approached. She shrieked as Sato cranked the brake, screeching the motorcycle into a skid. The harsh stink of scorched rubber filled the air as Sato came to a complete stop behind a truck. "Ah, shit! Looks like we've hit traffic. Damn!" Apricot patted Sato's back, hopping off. "Sorry, Sato." His head tilted as she sauntered away. "Thanks for the ride. I'll catch you later." Giggling, she danced down the road, holding his camera in the air. "Yeah, get a good shot for me, will ya?" Apricot spun to face Sato while walking backward. "You bet!" She sprinted along the traffic-clogged street. The vehicles weaved in a game of inches as she maneuvered through the urban congestion. A screech roared, her heel searing with pain. Mid-fall, she held Sato's camera aloft, dropping onto her side and scraping against the asphalt. When she regained her bearings, she found a blue bumper inches above her head. "Oh my, I am so sorry, she heard, pushing herself up. She looked up to see a man stammering from the car's open passenger door. "I didn't see you. Are you okay, miss?" Her heart sank as she removed the camera cover. Without acknowledging the man, she lifted the camera, relieved to find it unharmed. A huge sigh escaped her as she brushed off the street dust. Her palm sticky with wetness, she ran her hand down her thigh. She saw a delicate smear of red. Her pale elbow and knees were bloodied, but other than minor scrapes, she felt fine. "Miss?" the man questioned again. "Yeah, it's fine," Apricot called out, running toward the sirens, unconcerned for her own safety or the man. She was on a mission, after all. When she neared the sirens, a riot strained against police barricades. "I hate when they do this kind of BS. Let the police do their job." Apricot wasn't entirely familiar with the mass protests in Blue Ash. From what she understood, Okabe had separated from the Uchelan mainland, centralizing police under the Okabe family's control. The people of Okabe had reacted poorly, seeing it as privatizing the police. Reaching into her pocket, Apricot looked for her journalist badge. Not finding it, she checked her purse, only to discover it was missing. Her heart sank as she realized she'd forgotten it. She imagined Machi or Bonnie had noticed the purse on her seat. "Great," Apricot muttered, eyeing the protesters. As she approached, she was engulfed in a sea of people with placards and signs. The heat, smells, and sweat reminded her of a packed concert. Battling the tide, she forced herself to the police line. Her hand joined others waving for a guard's attention. "I'm media. Can someone let me through?" she shouted. An officer glanced before hollering over the noise. "Sure, kid. Where's your pass?" As she got closer, she latched onto the barricade, trying not to be pulled back by the mob. "I accidentally left it behind. I was in a hurry to follow the sirens." "I'm press 2, officer," hollered a man in a suit. "Sure, kid, go get it, and I will let you through. Without it, you're not coming on this side of the barricade." "I am press," shouted another woman. "Officer, please," Apricot begged. The official gestured sternly. "Listen, you punk, you're not tricking me. Now scram before I arrest you for misrepresenting yourself to an officer." In a panic, Apricot blurted, "What's the official statement about the robbery?" "The state chose not to disclose if this is a robbery. We'll update as we understand the situation," the officer said. Drawing a pad from her pocket, Apricot continued, "Is anyone inside the building?" The officer's face turned red. "Back off and disperse now." "Forgive me, officer." Apricot bowed before pushing back through the crazed protesters. With a heavy heart, she found it best to retreat. Negotiating with police amid agitators was unwise. The crowd's angry roar drowned out as she left the main street. After her escape, Apricot's adrenaline rush faded, replaced by defeat as she glanced back at the swarm. Anger simmered inside her. If not for those crazy protesters, they might have let her in. "Well, at least I can get something for Sato," she remarked, lifting the camera. Through the viewfinder, she watched people clash with police. Black-armored officers swung batons, bashing heads. "Looks like I got out just in time." She squeezed the button. Twin shutters clicked, capturing the moment. She grinned, knowing Sato would love the shot. Wanting a wider shot, she stepped back to frame it. She tripped. Falling, she threw her hands to the sides, catching her footing. The camera dangled mid-air from her neck. At her feet was a metal grate that had tripped her. Kneeling, she lifted the grate, a delightful idea crossing her mind. The metropolis's runoff tunnels connected every road. With a grunt, she tossed the grate aside. A smile crossed her face as she descended into the tunnels. "Come out with your hands up," shouted the captain through a blue and white bullhorn. A squad of officers surrounded the bank with their cars. The rest of the police held the blockade as the disruptors tried to gain ground. "Get back, or I will shoot," yelled a younger officer, barricade snapping. Drawing his pistol, he screamed, "Back up, I said," as rebels passed the barrier. He leveled the barrel at a young woman's head. She froze wide-eyed, inches from the gun. The crowd's sound drowned as the officer stared. The moment broke when another latched onto the officer's arm. "Murderer!" screamed someone. The officer elbowed the man, retreating to his fellows. "Enough," declared the chief to a policeman. "Gas these sons of bitches." A group marched with long pipe cannons. With a holler, they released canisters. The metal projectiles knocked some down before releasing a dense cloud of milky brown smoke. As it covered them, protesters screamed, trampling each other, their clothes reeking of fumes as they breached the plumes. The police in front chattered as the bank's mirror glass door slid open. A man in shadows held a girl with a gun to her lower jaw. Leaning to her ear, he whispered, "Now, darling, remember what I said. Move or speak, and I'll spray your face all over the room. Got that?" She nodded, tears dropping off her cheeks, as his gruff voice marked him an excessive smoker. The captain lifted a radio. "Get me a sniper on him, fast." "Put down the gun, sir." The man laughed. "I'll put the gun down and give you the girl." As officers approached, he pulled the gun away from the girl. "Back up, you shitheads. Get back," he warned, pressing the gun into her jaw. "Well, we wouldn't want her face to become a scarlet fountain." He pointed the gun at the officers. "Move back." "The gun is off her. Take the shot," the chief said over the radio. A bullet thundered from the adjacent building, soaring through the man's face. The hostage and man flickered away, leaving a softball-sized orb. "Wrong move, assholes," said the voice over the intercom. "Shit!" gasped an officer. An explosion rolled from the bank. Fire bellowed as debris hit bystanders in a wave of heat. Protesters ran. Officers cracked under the pressure. Apricot huddles to her knees and screams as the ground rumbles like a beast awakening. The cables strung to the walls dangle, casting erratic shadows that dance with the swaying lights in their metal cages. She clutches her chest, feeling her heart pound wildly, each beat a tumult in her ears. The metal rungs marking the exit aren't far, but terror roots her to the spot, her legs jelly-like after the booming quake. She lifts her gaze through the escape hatch's metal bars to the clear blue sky above, a wave of relief washing over her. She scampers up the steps, pushing open the grate with a metallic groan, emerging into the open air. A smile of relief spreads across her face as she surveys the dirty backstreet lot. Several trash bins brimming with recyclables line the alley, a stark contrast to the grim surroundings. She pulls herself upright, realizing she is indeed behind the bank. A fortified brick wall topped with menacing razor wire surrounding the back lot. Creeping out of the hole, she lets the metal grate fall shut with a resounding clank, sending echoes down the alleyway. Turning toward the smoke-cloaked street, she spots police officers dragging people from the rubble. Was that a bomb? Who would use bombs for a bank robbery? She wonders aloud, a tone of incredulity tinging her voice. The thought seems absurd. She remembers Boken's sword theory. The simplest answer is usually correct. So why use a bomb? Her hands tremble as a sense of dread floods over her. Could this be a terrorist attack? She bites her lip, the metallic taste of blood mingling with her fear. "Can't let nerves get to you, girl. You want to be a reporter, now's the time to act like one," she mutters, trying to steel herself. Lifting the camera to her face, she finds the viewfinder dark. Removing it, she notices the cap hanging limply from the lens. With a sigh, she brings the camera back to her eye, only to see a hazel eye surrounded by teeth glaring back. "What the?" she whispers, her breath hitching. The teeth snap shut, forming a twisted grin, and croak, "Hello," in a creepy, cartoon-like voice. She shrieks and hurls the camera, her hands flying to cover her mouth. The sound of glass shattering on the pavement pulls her gaze downward. Sato's camera lies in ruin. Dropping to her knees, she gingerly picks up the mangled camera. A small sob escapes her lips as shards of glass tumble from the shattered lens. "No," she whispers, a tear tracing a path down her cheek. "Don't move," a young man's steel-edged voice commands. She looks up to see him, scruffily dressed and holding a pistol. Her blood runs cold as he waves the nozzle toward her. Rising unsteadily to her feet, she notes his chiseled jawline and unsettling yellow eyes. Wow, he is handsome, she thinks, despite herself. Now, why would a girl be out here? He asks, suspicion dripping from his tone. I am a journalist. I'm trying to get a few photos for my article, she stammers, clutching the broken camera like a talisman. Looks like you need a new camera. He snickers, his eyes narrowing. You think I'm an idiot? You went through the sewers to get here, filthy. Are you sent by the cops? Got a wire on you? She shakes her head. No. Sure, like you'd tell me anyway. His glare intensifies, the pistol trembling slightly. Suddenly he breaks her train of thought. There's one way you can prove it. He raises his head, pointing the pistol at her chest. Take 'em off. Her cheeks flush. With a deep, shaky breath, she places trembling fingers on her shirt. She pauses, swallows hard. Go ahead, he urges with a perverse glint. Wait. He lowers the gun, his gaze softening slightly as it shifts to the ground. You don't have to do that. She wonders if it's a trick. Even if it is, he wouldn't hesitate to shoot her. Lowering her shirt, she watches as he nudges a door open with a clank. After you? He directs her inside. Stepping across the threshold, the uncertainty of living or dying becomes palpable. The irony strikes her. She was here to cover a robbery, and now she is the story. If she survives, it might be the scoop of a lifetime, maybe even a book deal. As she contemplates this, a smile inadvertently curls her lips. What's got you so happy? Got a fetish for being a hostage? He sneers, and just like that, the fleeting joy dissolves, replaced by paralyzing fear. How the hell do we get out of this? Barks a man with a pistol. He's a late teen, jittery and twitchy, a lethal combination, she notes. The man who captured her shakes his head. We can't just walk out the front door. The back is open. Reporter girl found a way through the tunnels. But if we slip out, I'm sure we'll get chased. A lady leans against a bank teller's desk, her face set in a permanent scowl or poised for an outburst. Apricot guesses she's in her late 20s or early 30s, her features mature, yet hardened. Unlike the other guy, she doesn't carry a visible weapon, though her long jacket could easily conceal an arsenal. Well, isn't this great? We got a swarm of cops out front, bright eyes upstairs drooling like a madman, and now we've got this kid hostage. This was not what we planned. What the hell was he thinking? A bomb! Diago is insane, moans the young man. He paces in tight circles, keeping to the shadows. Apricot sits on the floor of the decorated bank, tracing the cracked, polished marble, a relic of the explosion. Shattered glass around the windows allows smoke to slither into the room, the stench burning her nostrils. She decides to let the group bicker, hoping to glean more information. One thing puzzles her. What did they expect to gain from a bank robbery in a world without paper money, given the dominance of the emerald mark? She can't hold her question any longer. What was your plan? She bursts out. The handsome man glances at her, while the other two exchange looks. Told you she was interesting, he says, a half smile playing on his lips. The nervous man laughs bitterly. Well, we aimed for a hefty retirement plan, but it's looking like we got a funeral instead. Maybe you could turn yourselves in. The bomb wasn't your idea. Turn on that. Diago guy. He doesn't seem to care much about you, Apricot suggests. The girl steps closer, drawing a thin slab from her side, revealing a spring-loaded blade. She bends next to Apricot, pressing the flat of the blade against her cheek. Comedian, keep talking, and I'll carve a smile all over your face from ear to ear. The handsome man chuckles softly. I kind of like the comedian. Someone has to be funny around here. Might as well be her. The girl taps the blade on Apricot's cheek, leaving a shallow cut. Her brown eyes lock with Apricot's, issuing a stark warning. She retracts the blade and stands. She might be right. The nervous man stifles a snicker. I don't want to die. We had no part in the bomb. That was all Diago's plan. Damn, how do you explain that? Diago, what's he doing up there? The calm man asks. I knew that deck jockey was just a plughead. He'll come through for us, right? The young man laughs nervously. He rigged that bomb, with that holo-sim from upstairs. Think he has a way out? Only one way to find out. The girl with the blade glances at the calm, handsome man. Yeah, I'll check on our decker, see if he's done. The man jumps off the desk and extends a hand to Apricot. I want a body as collateral, though. Her heart flutters, sensibilities frayed. Hey, reporter girl, mind being my shield? He grabs her hand, pulling her to her feet. Come on, it's this way. The man leads Apricot upstairs to the second floor. Over the mezzanine she can see outside, the scene intensified by the anxiety of a gun pointed at her. Oddly, she feels more at ease with this man than with the woman downstairs. Even so, the gun keeps her grounded in reality. Just down the hall. I don't want a sniper to blow my head off, so please walk in front of me. Pressed close, she feels his body heat as they edge toward the door. She blushes, feeling him pressed against her. Outside, several police officers stand with guns drawn, while others move about, paperwork in hand. The crowd has largely dispersed. Inside, a girl sobs in the corner. A man sits in front of a computer, a pistol on the desk beside a camera rig. Cables snake from his hands, tiny metal pieces spreading out like robotic tendrils as he types furiously. Apricot's stomach churns at the sight of the twisted figure before her. Once human, now he looks artificial. A ghastly hybrid from a horror story. Hey, Diego, you almost done. You pissed off the cops with that light show. Did I? He chuckles, not turning away from the screen. I wasn't aware. The man beats his fist on the table. Yeah, now get your ass in gear because we're running out of time and I don't intend to die here. What? But the party has just started. Diago snickers. They've got impressive countermeasure electronics. I got through the first phases. Think they got a nice buried treasure. The downstairs vaults are unlocked. Load up what you can. I'll have the tunnels open in a few. Wasn't expecting this resistance. If you give me some time, I think I can find something more valuable. They equipped this place with body scanners. Bet those are worth something. Listen, Pervo, get us a bank train so we can get out of here, the handsome man hollers. Tange, you ain't no fun, Diago grumbles. And where you gonna go? You don't think the tunnels are swarming with police by now? Just get it done. Are you a runner? Apricot asks. The black-haired lady in the corner looks up, her shock evident. Apricot has heard of these people, runners. They target specific locations to access closed systems. They leave a trail of destruction, eliminating witnesses. They vanish from recorded footage, their goods sold in shadowy markets. Diago glances her way. The eyes, they are wrong, she thinks, eyes widening, like dolls in shop windows. Who's the girl? Hostage like yours, the handsome man says, slapping Apricot's backside. A chill races through her. She wants to slap him but holds back. A reporter. Huh, shit, man. If you don't get that one sorted soon, I'll reprogram her myself. Expert witness, you know, Joy Boy. She doesn't get all the words, but the gist is clear. He wants her dead. The other girl's wide eyes tell Apricot she thinks the same. Apricot feels the handsome man press the cold barrel into her back. You worry about our getaway. She remains uncertain, her emotions knotted. The handsome man seems to have a moral code, at least not wanting her dead. Then again, emotions deceive. He pushes her toward the hallway. You know the drill, girl. Don't let them blue boys blow off my head now. From the ground floor, a commotion breaches the silence. A voice booms, "On your knees!" followed by a series of commands. "What the hell is that?" shouts Diago. The handsome man shoves Apricot onto the floor, gripping his gun. Ghostly figures drop from the marble ceiling. Their cloaks mimic their surroundings, shimmering in the light. If not for the shimmers, they'd be invisible, Apricot thinks. They throw off their cloaks, revealing armored police pointing weapons at the criminals. "Gotcha," a synthesized voice declares. "You did," the handsome man responds. He swivels, drawing a blade and stabbing it at the thick Kevlar collar. The blade sparks off the armor, and the officer's rifle butt sends him to the ground. Diego jumps up, knocking the chair over. He swings his arm, sending the computer crashing into an officer. Cables whip back into his hand as he points at another officer. "You son of a bitch!" Diago howls. His forearm splits, revealing the hidden Uzi. The gun roars to life. Apricot claps her hands over her ears and drops to her knees. A smoking bullet lands between her legs. She screams, adding to the chaotic echoes. She scrambles away from the smoldering bullet, pressing against the wall. "Ah ha 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 ha!" Diago cackles. She screams again as strong arms envelop her. She looks up, seeing the gray and blue mask of an officer wrapping her in their cloak. Inside, it's bright, transforming the room into a translucent view. Apricot watches the red silhouette of the handsome man sweep his foot, toppling an officer. "I got you, honey," a muffled female voice says as the officer lifts her through the bank wall. An intense tingling spreads through Apricot. The officer lands with a heavy thud on the pavement below, pulling her along. She realizes she's thrashing and screaming. Her mind races with questions. What just happened? Did they jump through a wall? Cradled in the officer's arms, she peers up into the iron blue mask. The eye shields glow a fierce red. 2 air hoses snake along the solid neck shield. "It's all right, ma'am. You're safe now." The officer sets her on her feet. She stands, gripping a clip on the mask's side. It clicks with an airy hiss as she lifts the helmet off, her long black hair cascading down. She has white irises. How unique, Apricot thinks. "Are you okay, hun?" the officer asks with a rural mainland accent. Apricot stares wide-eyed, slack-jawed. "I've got to thank you. Your sneaking let me get inside unnoticed." Another officer jumps through the wall with the black-haired lady. He asks, "Ma'am, need medical attention?" The lady wails in response. "This is the life police have. So dangerous," Apricot says without thinking. "You are lucky, miss. I haven't seen many kids walk out of something like that," the officer replies. Apricot snaps out of her trance. "Forgive me." She bows deeply. "Thank you for saving me. I am in your debt." "All in a day's work, miss," the officer says, smiling. A man in uniform approaches, clipboard in hand. "You're a student, huh?" he asks, eyeing Apricot's tattered uniform. "What were you doing inside the bank?" Her heart sinks, conscious of the surveillance cameras. "That is a funny story," she begins, biting her nails. She recounts the events that led to her becoming a hostage, amusing the officer. "Your press, huh? Well, I'll have to report this to your superiors and let them decide what to do with you. Understand me?" the man says, wagging a finger at her. She nods. "Good girl. Put in a good word. Got it? Now come with me. We need to get your account on record so you can be on your way."